Hey everybody, how you doing? Hey, what's up, Mark? What's up, Donna? Donna got in here early. She said, "I am here. I am here. I am here for it." Hold on, y'all. I'm turning on the phone lines too, just in case anybody wants to call in. So, how's everybody been this wonderful Sunday? I was chit chatting with you guys early this morning on my way home, on my way to work. Not work, but to church. I'm tripping. That's how much I work. I'm like, I was on my way to work this morning. I was actually on my way to church this morning when I was chit chatting with you guys and letting you know that I was going to be coming live tonight with part 3 of When They See Us. So for Donna, you said you watched it. I am doing great, by the way. Thank you for asking, love. So what do you think so far? What do you think so far? Mark, have you been watching it? We are up to part 3 right now. It's a 4-part series on Netflix called When They See Us, and is based on the real life story of the Central Park Five. And just like the last 2 lives, I'm going to start off reading what the show is about, just in case there's people coming in who have not seen the show yet. So I'm going to do that. You said it had you in tears, honey. It had me in tears so much. I think this last episode, part 3, had me the most emotional, like the most emotional. And I've been really emotional with both part 1 and part 2, but I'm like, wow, this show is deep. That whole situation is deep. That whole situation is really deep. But so I'm going to go ahead and let me see. I just want to. Hey, Silk Living, how you doing? We're just reviewing the new Netflix series titled When They See Us. We are on part 3. You said, where I have a question is, why was Corey sent straight to adult jail? Oh, because he was, they said because he was 16 and charged as an adult. Hey, Ryan Pierce. How you doing? I really hate, as far as that, Donna, I really hate that he was even tried as an adult, because anybody could tell that Corey was not the average 16-year-old mind wise. He was some steps below, some floors below, if you know what I mean, some floors below a 16-year-old mindset. He couldn't even read. He couldn't even read. And how his statement was wrote up by the detectives, and everything that they put down there, he didn't even know what was on his statement. Like when they asked him, did you hit the lady with a pipe? In court, he was like, huh? A pipe? I ain't had no pipe. What you talking about? I ain't seen no pipe. I ain't had no pipe. And he's up there going off, and they're like, well, it's in your statement. Would you like to read your statement to us? Here's your statement. Here it is right here. Read it. And he was going off because he couldn't read. He was like, I don't know what they put down there. I don't know what was on my statement. I thought that was wrong. Somebody should have been giving him some kind of test. And, he shouldn't have been tried as an adult. He shouldn't have been tried as an adult. That was crazy to me. Let me turn on the phone lines real quick. Let's see. I'm going to turn on the phone lines real quick. Hey, Tanya Travis. Yeah, that was sad. Corey wasn't all there in the head. Not at all. You could tell just by his whole demeanor. his whole demeanor, you could just tell the way he was acting, real childlike, and like he wasn't, quite understanding what was going on, all the time. But let me just go over. Let me just read for those who have not probably seen 1 or 2 or part 3 yet. I'm just going to quickly let everybody know what it's about. Then we'll get into the review. So, the name of the 4-part Netflix series is called When They See Us. We are discussing part 3. And it's of the true story of the Central Park 5. On April 19th, 1989, there was an assault and rape case of a Tricia Mealy, who was a 20-year-old investment banker. The Central Park Jogger case. That's what the case was called. It was a major news story that involved the assault and rape of Tricia Mealy, a white female jogger, and attacks on others in the North Woods of Manhattan Central Park on the night of April 19, 1989. The attack on the jogger left her in a coma for 12 days. Mealy, again, was a 28-year-old investment banker at the time, and according to the New York Times, the attack was one of the most publicized crimes of the 1980s. On the night of the attack, April 19, 1989, 5 juvenile males allegedly, fueled by racist tensions and racist rhetoric, 4 African Americans and 1 Hispanic were apprehended in connection with a number of attacks in the Central Park, committed by around 30 teenage perpetrators. So they weren't the only ones there. Y'all saw in the show was a whole bunch of teenagers there. The prosecuting attorney in the case was Elizabeth Lederer. The 5 juvenile males arrested was 14-year-old Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, who was 15, Antron McCray, who was 15, and Corey Wise, who was 16. Did I say all the names? I think I said all the names. Okay. Yeah. Corey, Antron, Kevin, Raymond, and Yusef. I forgot about Yusef. Sorry, I forgot about Yusef. So, in part 1 and part 2, we saw how the guys were arrested. They were coerced into making false statements. It was a rush to convict for somebody for that crime of the white lady in the park. And after there was still no solid evidence, no eyewitnesses, no evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA matching, no sperm matching, nothing but the coerced version of the story by those 5 boys. But that was enough for them to go to trial. And again, some members of the black community charged that the arrest was racially motivated, which I believe as well, and rushed to judgment. So, the guys, they went to jail. Corey Wise, he was 16 years old at the time. He was convicted of assault, sexual abuse, and riot. Yusef Salaam, he was sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison. He was 15. Antron McCray, he was 15, convicted of rape and assault. Kevin Richardson was sentenced to the maximum 5 to 10 years because he was the only one that was charged with attempted murder, rape, sodomy, robbery, assault, and riot. He got the most charges. And Raymond Santana was sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison for rape and assault. Whew. This show is hard to watch, y'all. I mean, is it hard to watch for y'all too? I'm thinking it's going to get easier as we go. Part 1 was hard. Part 2 was hard. Part 3, even though some of them started coming home in part 3, it was still kind of hard to watch because the difficulties they were having getting out of jail and being scrutinized by a lot of people, because a lot of people still were, proclaiming that they were guilty A lot of people, still thought they were guilty. The only people that really like believed in them, like really, really believed in them, was like their immediate family. Their mom, their dad, their immediate family. You said you don't blame Antoine for never forgiving his father. His father only thought about himself. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? When Antoine, that whole entire time. Now we saw how the cops tried to blackmail his father, Bobby, threatening to release his background history, all his criminal background, his rap sheet to his current employer, to get him fired. And I'm still like, I don't think I would have fell for it. I mean, I know it was 1989. I know back then it was a lot of racial tension in the United States around that time. Especially, with the police and with the black communities and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think I would have fell for the okie doke as far as with the cops and them telling him, make your son say he, has some involvement. Make your son tell us what we want to hear and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't think I could have done that. I would have stood there, in the gap for my son. The outcome might not have been, the best outcome, for what, happened. But I think I would have, stood in the gap for my son. There's no way that they could have convinced me to tell my son, to say these people that he know. I know all my son's friends, all of them. 22, 18. They've been hanging with the same friends since they were like in grade school, like 3rd and 4th grade. The same friends. So for them to throw out these names from out of nowhere, and my son's like, I don't know them. I'm like, well, I ain't never heard of them. And just make them say these particular guys did such and such. Nope. And then his father, he stopped being there for him. He didn't come to a pretrial. He didn't come to the trial. He didn't come until the last second when he realized that he was probably their only last hope for them to maybe not go to prison. And it didn't work out because you saw how they did him on the in court. How they did him. They just railroaded him right on out the chair. So it was too late by then. It was much too late. He came in kind of after they talked to the victim, and they showed her clothes that she was wearing and talked about all her injuries, past and present. It was just too late. It was just too late. If I would have lost my job, I just would have lost my job. I would have signed up for welfare, food stamp. What they called it back then, AD. What did it used to be called? ADC? Something like that. I would have signed up for welfare. I would have signed up for food stamps. We would have moved to the projects. We would have moved to the projects, low-income housing, Section 8. We would have been getting cheese and butter. Back then they had the cheese and butter line. We would have been getting cheese and butter and old bread. I mean, it was no way. I couldn't do it. Shoot. I can do it. The way we grew up, as poor as we was when we grew up, hey, it would have been nothing. I grew up poor. Hey, lose my job, lose my home, I don't care. Them cops couldn't have railroaded me. Nope. It was sad. Tanya Davis said, hell ain't no way. I couldn't have done that to my son. And then when his son found out what he did, when his wife found out what he did, that was really, really sad. So when he came home, after his mom been supporting him all this time, his mom was there from the beginning, to the present. She was there, all the court dates. She went to see him all the time. He even kept asking her to stop coming because, he knew how expensive it was. And she didn't have a lot of money. And she was like, I'm going to keep coming. I was like, they ate his arse up. Ate him up. He was up there like, they was like, so you mean to tell me you teach your son how to lie? You taught your son how to lie for the sake of the family? He was like, yeah. And granted, he thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was doing the right thing, but ain't no job worth all that. I done had some good jobs. I done had some horrible jobs. I done had some horrible jobs in my life. And I done had some good jobs. But, it's a job. It's a job. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. That was crazy. That was so crazy. You said Antron Mother is a whore too. I would have left my husband for betraying her son. He was supposed to be a man and leader. And you know what? He did leave. Well, she didn't leave him. He left her. He left them. When he came home, the look on his face when he saw his father's wheelchair in the living room, he said, "He here?" She was like, yeah, she was trying to like ignore what he just asked, yeah, trying to take his clothes and, make him comfortable. He went right in the room. And his dad was laying there in the bed, looked like he had fell asleep, doing a crossword puzzle. And he was in there, just laid out, sleep. And when he realized his son was standing there in front of him, he tried to get up the bed. Hey, son, try to welcome him home. Try to give him some warmth. Try to embrace him with some warmth. He probably thought he was going to get a big old huge hug. Did you see the way he embraced his mother when she picked him up from prison? The way he embraced her, the way she kissed all over him, that would have been me. Just kissing all over my son. Like he been gone for 1,000,000 years. He should have been there. He should have been there the whole time. You said he left her, then he took his sick bug back and expected Angela to help take care. Right. He should have been there the whole entire time. The whole entire time. And then it's like, okay, I get it. You messed up. You felt guilty. You felt guilty. You left the home. But even after he was in prison throughout those years, you never felt like you should come back to the home. And remember when his wife was asking, is there somebody else? Are you sure there isn't somebody else? Remember when she was asking him that? And he said, no, I'm just doing a lot of work. We need the money. We got to help pay for, this case. And, I'm just doing double time and, working double shifts and stuff like that. And I started to wonder. I wonder, was it somebody else? I mean, what else could have been keeping him all those years? All those years away from his son, not visiting. It was strange to me because I can see if it was like a parent who wasn't there all the time, like a parent who just paid child support and he came and picked his son up once a week or on holidays or on his birthday or something like that. He was there from the beginning when his son was born. He was married to his mother and you just bounce like that? Hell no, he wasn't welcoming him with open arms when he got home. And he was pissed because his mother, allowed him to come back. I'm like, I don't care. That ninja could have been dying from, I don't know, cancer, AIDS, something. I would have been like pissed off too. Like, okay, so he's sick. You let him come back after he deserted us. And you notice how he said the mom was trying to, give excuses. Well, we can't hate him forever. We got to forgive, we got to move on and all this. He said, Mom, my situation and your situation with Pops is different. You might have married him and you might have those vows till death do us part, for richer, for poor, through sickness and in health. He ain't got no vows to his father. He ain't got no vows to his father. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And as far as like, be respectful to your mothers, the Bible verse, children, respect your parents, obey your parents, for this is right, thus says the Lord, or your days should be cut short. Yeah, don't forget, I was raised in church almost 7 days a week, y'all. I can quote y'all some Bible verses. But anyway, everybody should know that verse, Everybody should know that verse. If you don't know that verse, you probably was a bad-ass kid. If you don't know that verse. But, trying to get this hair out of my eye. But, yeah, so he didn't owe his daddy nothing. He didn't owe him nothing. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. You said exactly he left her, then she. Oh, I read that one. Okay, you said, Donna, girl, my kids lost their dad. It was hard for us, but I did that. I had something like that happen 1 year ago to my son, but mommy wasn't right there. I would kill. Who you telling? Who you telling? Tanya, I would. My kids already know. My kids already know. Me and my kids done fought together, threw down together. Okay, now they were getting jumped, so it wasn't like we just running, ripping and running through the streets, whooping on people. Nah, it ain't nothing like that. I ain't like that. My son was getting jumped, and he got jumped right in front of me. So was I gonna stand around and call 911 like the white lady? They fighting in the park? No, I jumped my butt right on in there. I dropped my butt right on in there, and I was like, hold on, let me call his daddy too. Shoot, you call your daddy too. We all I don't play with my kids. You said you just seen an interview on YouTube when them out. Antoine said he don't forgive his dad. I don't blame him. Maybe one day he will. Maybe one day he will. You know, one day God might touch his heart, might touch his soul, might touch his mind, and allow him that peace to forgive him. I mean, his father's dead now. You know, that scene where the scene where, remember when he had got into it with that girl, that broad, the one who was looking like a gold digger, telling him, why you ain't taking me out? Why you ain't doing this? Why we can't go to these uppity restaurants? Everybody else going to the uppity restaurants. Everybody else boyfriends taking them to the why you don't take me to the restaurant? You know, I don't remember the names of the restaurants. I'm just gonna say uppity because we know they cost us some money. Hey Tanae, how you doing, sweets? But he was like, dude, he taking her out for ice cream. He taking her out to cheap places, you know, because that's all he could afford. He was like, I'm only making $300 every 2 weeks, and out of the $300 every 2 weeks, my mama getting $100. So he's bringing home $200 every 2 weeks. She wants him to take her to these bougie restaurants, and not being happy with, you know, the little things that he is doing for being an ungrateful chick, you know, and he said, I'm trying to save up because I want to go to school. I want to go to school. I'm already down to $200 every 2 weeks. I'm trying to say to go to school, and she didn't understand that. Then start going off on him and start getting real mean and talking about, oh, you one of those type of dudes. I see what you are. You mistreat women. That's why you raped the lady and da 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 da. He was standing there like, she lucky she didn't cuss smooth the heck out because disrespectful. Disrespectful. Oh, Tanae, yes, you gotta go watch it. You got to go watch it. I'm doing part 4 review tomorrow night. So you got, each episode is only like an hour long. It's like an hour 20 minutes each episode. So you can catch up real easily by tomorrow evening because I'm going to review the final part 4 tomorrow night. But yeah, you said that's what happened to my son, but I slung that. I told this one, girl, my son had one of them on the ground and one of them was on my son's back, and I jumped right on him. We was all fighting. We was all fighting till somebody broke it up. And I got up and I was like, call your mama and call your daddy. Shoot, I'm about to call my son's father too. Shoot, family affair. Like Mary J. Blige said, family affair. But yeah, let me see. You said he just basically focused on his family, not his father. Yep. That was it. But when, you know, the moment when after that, you know, his dad tried to reach out to him. He tried to talk to him. He tried to cook dinner for him. You know, he tried all kind of stuff. His dad was even trying to cook for him when he could barely walk. His kidneys was declining. He was really, really, really sick. Like, really sick. And he was trying. He was trying to patch things up with his son. But when you that young and you go to prison for something you don't even understand, and your father neglected you, walked away from you, just Left your mom, left his wife, not just a baby mama, that was his wife. You know, till death do us part, through sickness, through health, through thicker, you know what I'm saying? He just left. He just left. So, do y'all think that was maybe karma for his father? Because that kind of went through my mind. I was like, nah, Tanya, that ain't wrong to think that that's karma. But am I the only one who feel that way? Hey, Miss Naturally New Orleans. We just discussed in part 3 of When They See Us. But am I the only one who thought that, like, Bobby McCray, Antron's father, the one who left him, and his mother, did y'all think that was kind of like karma? Because this man was healthy as a horse, you know, when they first got arrested. And just sometime later, a few years later, he's like dying. I thought that was like, I was like, I wonder if that's karma. But, you know, everything happens for a reason. So, you know, I didn't want to be like, well, yeah, you should have been there for your son. Now you're dying. You know, I didn't want to, I didn't want to be like that. But, you know, everything happens for a reason. It could be karma. It could have been just, you know, his time to go, you know. It was time to go. It was very real. When the directors did an awesome job. And them young actors did an awesome job. Even like the crying scenes when they were getting really emotional. I don't know where they went to acting school, but they, A1. They were awesome. And I'm sure with them working with the veteran actors and actresses out there, they probably, you know, had some help from them as well, you know, because Michael Williams, the one who played Omar Little in The Wire, you know, the one who played Antron's father, Bobby McCray, you know, he got a long list of movies and TV shows under his belt. So, you know, him and some of the other people who were acting in this show, yeah, I'm sure a lot of these young people had a lot of, you know, assistance and, you know how it is. But you said that sound like what went through. Yes, karma. God don't like ugly child. God don't like. But yeah, this because you know the reason why I said karma was because the same job that he was trying to protect from the white man trying to take it from him, the same job he was trying to protect by forcing his son Antron to lie was the same job that he eventually lost when he got sick a few years later. Ain't that crazy? The same job that he was trying to protect. He had been at that job for 5 years. A few years later, they fired him because he was too sick to keep working. Now you ain't got no job. And now your wife, the one you left, is taking care of you. But, and then when his mom was like, when you marry somebody, Tronny, you vow to take care of them in sickness and in health. Antron, again, he didn't agree. He was still holding on to that pain that he experienced, you know, as a child. Not understanding how his dad, who raised him from birth, just took off when he needed him the most. So, again, I don't blame him for not forgiving him. Maybe he will one day, you know, maybe he will. But I don't know. But you know, Raymond's senior. One of the really, really great scenes that I liked was when he had went to prison and he got locked up. Remember his grandma? Remember his dad was at home sleep during the time they was out kicking it, doing whatever the heck they were doing in the park? He was asleep because he worked the late shift and he was, you know, taking his nap, sleeping before he go to work. The grandma came down to the precinct, to the jailhouse, to, you know, be with Raymond while he was getting interrogated. And remember, she couldn't speak English. She's Hispanic. She just speaks Spanish. She didn't speak any English. So she didn't understand anything that was going on. She didn't understand what the detectives were saying. She didn't understand what they was telling him to write on his statement. So when she was looking all confused and trying to ask questions, in Spanish and stuff. They had told her beforehand that they had Spanish interpreters down there. They didn't interpretate nothing. Do y'all remember that? They didn't interpretate nothing. Basically what they did was they took her out of the interrogation room and was like, oh, he'll be fine, just come out of here. Probably offer her some cookies and milk or some tea or some coffee and told her to sit outside, and wait for him. She felt so bad once she realized what was going on. And she felt bad because by the time his father found out he was downtown and he came down there, Raymond had been interrogated so long and slammed around and slapped around and yelled at and screamed at and all this kind of stuff for hours. For 18 hours, darn near. They was down there for 18 hours. And by then, Raymond was like, Dad, just leave it alone. I just want to sign this statement so I can go home. I just want to go home. They said that they promised I can go home. I just want to go home. So he's up there making up all this stuff and telling them, who did what. And then they was like, well, you can't say all these people did something and you not say what you did. And even though he didn't do anything, he was like, heck, I'll just make up something so they can let me go home because they promised to let me go home. Anyway, the grandmother, when they was throwing her birthday party at the beginning of part 3, that was a really great scene for me because while they're up there celebrating and got cake and ice cream and all kind of other food, everybody's in a celebratory mood. The grandmother was looking really down and out and sad and confused and like she didn't even want to be there. And I think she was just hurting because of the guilt she felt, because she wasn't really present there when he was being interrogated. So while they up there celebrating and stuff, after they sung and it was time for her to blow out the candle, she was like, they said, what do you wish for? Make a wish. And she said, I want you all to know my wish. My wish is for my grandson, Raymond Jr. It's hard for me to sit here and celebrate with you guys when all my family isn't here. He's in trouble. He's locked up. Nobody can get him out. Nobody can help him. She said, I wanted to help him. I went down there to the jail to help him, but I couldn't help him. She said, I couldn't help him. That was really sad. I don't know if his grandmother is still alive. That was 30 years ago. I don't know if she's still alive, but I'm sure she probably carried that guilt for a very long time. But what I do gorgeous. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in to our review of When They See Us Part 3. And by the way, it's on Netflix. For those of y'all who just coming in, if you don't know, it's on Netflix. 4-part documentary of the real story of the Central Park 5. And we are reviewing part 3, and I'll review part 4 tomorrow. But what did y'all think? How did y'all feel about Raymond Sr., about his young wife? That girl, ooh. She was too much. I mean, I knew something was wrong with her. When she was complaining about the phone calls. When she was complaining about, how many times you gonna answer his phone calls? The bill is getting higher and higher and higher, and you accept every single phone call. I was like, this wench. I mean, his father couldn't do much for him then. So, he's accepting all the phone calls. He's visiting them. He's sitting on the phone chopping it up with his son. It ain't no, hey, son, how you doing? What's going on? It's what you eat today. Did you sleep good last night? Who you kicking it with? Did you make some friends? Genuine conversation that he's having on the phone. He don't care how many minutes it is. He wants his son to know that there's somebody on the other side of that wall, on the other side of that fence, that really cares for him. He's the only person he had in his life. His mother wasn't there. And the grandma, again, I don't know if the grandma was dead, but you notice after a while we stopped seeing the grandma. So I don't know if she was still alive, but they only, they start cutting her out of parts. I haven't watched part 4 because I don't want to jump ahead of myself and mix up some of the reviews, information, so I'm watching part by part by part. But he was like, the only one there for him. So he's taking all the phone bills, even though she's constantly complaining about the high phone bill. Yeah, she was evil. She was evil as hell. I'm like, what's up with her? I'm like, what's up with her? And then when he gets home, and he walks through the door of the house where he, grew up, he's looking around and he see all these people in there, and his dad introduces him to the wife, Elena, and he's like, how you doing, ma'am? Nice to meet you. Real respectful. Just got out the pen and real respectful. Just out the pen, okay? So he wasn't like, hey, what up? Real respectful. She's like, hey, and walked away. Just walked away. I'm like, what was that all about? I'm like, what was that all about? She had all, you know what? It's a stereotype. It's a stereotypical comment to say all Mexicans be deep in their house. Be deep. Like 20, 30, 40 deep. That's a stereotypical comment, so I'm not going to say that. But in this situation, I think it was about 20 people in there, at least. From the kids to the older people, it was a lot of people in there. A lot. Her mama and all them was in there. And she was like, hey, and walked away. Like, this man just been in prison for a very long time. And I'm just thinking, you're married to his father. I would just think there would have been an embrace, a hug, something. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Can I get you something? Let me show you to your room. She ain't even have a place set up for him. Her whole family in there, and Mr. Santana, senior, he's like, all these people here because she just likes to take care of people. She likes to take care of family. She be looking out for people. But she treated him like crap as soon as he came through the door. I was like, wow. You said all her family, none was his family. Everyone in the family made him everybody. You see how the ladies were in the corner and they were whispering behind his back? And I was like, wow. And his father, I was so upset. Like, why is you letting this young child, they almost look to be the same age. His son and his wife looked like they should have been together instead of like she looked really young. And you know who she is? That's that chick from Orange is the New Black. That's who she is. Orange is the New Black. She's the one that plays in the Netflix show Orange is the New Black. She's the one who got pregnant by the security guard. By what, not security, is that what they call them in prison? Whatever you call them, the guards. She got pregnant by the guard and they made her she had to give her baby up. That's her. Yeah, Orange is the New Black. That's a really good show. I like that one. I like that show. But I was like, dang, that's crazy the way that he was treating her. I mean, the way she was treating him. I just like, wow. I don't know. But when he basically was trying to find work and he couldn't find no work, and he saw his old friends out there hustling, slanging, selling crack. That's around the big crack epidemic, He was like, after his girl was like, we can get this apartment. She said, I can use the money from my stipend from school, from her job, and all they need to come up with is last month rent. He was like, hey, that's cool. I'm down with that because I'm tired of, living in this place, especially after they was trying to get their groove on and Helena busted up in there She busted up in there talking about, y'all in here doing it in the baby's room where the baby sleep. Like, the baby sleep, that's Raymond's room. That's Raymond's room. But they chase him out. The girl went running out the door. He's running out the door in his boxers. I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny because the lady, the girl, that his woman, she was like believing that, she was thinking that Elena was his girlfriend and thinking that he was cheating on his girlfriend with her. So the girlfriend was thinking, I'm the other woman. Who's that woman in there? Who's she? And he's like, that's my mom's. That's my stepmom. That's my dad's wife. She didn't believe it at all. That's how close in age they looked. Raymond's stepmom looked like she was like maybe a few years older than him. She was like, I can't do it. But anyway, she gave him another chance, and then eventually, she approached him about moving in, getting a house or whatnot, and he was like, cool. So he go to work, try to pick up some extra shifts, and they fired him. They let him go, and that's when he went to the streets and started, slinging on rocks. And I was thinking to myself at that point, I'm like, dang, you do realize that you could go right back to jail and serve the rest of your remaining sentence and get another charge. You know the time they was giving people back then over some crack? Shoot, it could have been a 5, a 10 piece, a dime piece, a nickel. They was giving time to people back then, especially if you was black or brown. They sure was. So I'm like, dang, I can't even say I don't blame him. I can't even say that. I know he wanted to get out of his father's home. He was unwelcome. Like, the thing is, he just served all that time. Like, he just served a whole bunch of time. As a young child, he was arrested for something he didn't do. He served a whole bunch of time. What hurt me the most was when he went, remember when he came home, and he saw some food on the stove. He went to the stove and he started making him a bowl. It looked like it was some kind of rice, some kind of maybe Spanish rice or something. And he made him a bowl of food. Man, his stepmama's mother came running up in there. And she was going off in her language or whatever. Because I think they were, what was it? Dominican. Yeah, they were Dominican. And I was like, why is she going off? She's going off talking something. What you doing? This food we made for later. And he was like, you talking about you made this food for later? But all the kids is in there eating? So he was like, my bad. I thought the food was for everybody. I thought I could eat. The kids was eating. So he figured he can go in there and make him a plate. and then they just blew up in his face. And the stepmom came running in there. Elena. And she's like, what you do to my mom? What you say to my mom to piss her off? All he wanted was a bowl of food. And she started going off on him and telling him, calling him a rapist and calling him all kind of names. And then she gonna turn around to his father, talking about, you gonna let him disrespect me like that, though? You gonna let him talk to me like that, Poppy? You gonna let him disrespect me like that in my own house? Like, she was flipping out, and his father didn't help at all. He was up there, you can't, that's my wife. You can't talk to my wife like that, son. That's my wife. We married. This her house. No, that was his father's house. The mama he moved in, and then she brought in the other 50 of her relatives. That was really sad, Donna. That was a sad scene. Over a bowl of rice. It was like they didn't want him to eat. They didn't want to feed him. And then from what the wife was saying afterwards, calling him a rapist and all that kind of stuff, you already see where her mindset is. She believes, no matter if his father believes that he's innocent, if your wife is believing that he's a rapist and treating him like he's a rapist, there's a problem there. Because regardless if she believed he was a rapist or not, that's your husband's son. That's your husband's son, and she should at least give him the benefit of the doubt. At least giving him the benefit of the doubt. So I thought that was like totally messed up. I mean, you come home after years in prison, falsely accused, living in a cell for years, and then you come home thinking you come into a place where you know, a place that's familiar, to be loved on and cared for, and help you get back on your feet. That's what he was coming home to, so he thought. But instead, he comes home to her. I was like, pfft. So yeah, I mean, he got out there and he started slanging. He didn't have nowhere else to go. And when he broke down to his dad and started crying, I was like, that was one of the moments when I started crying. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That was very emotional. He was crying, talking about, I don't have nowhere else to go. I don't have nowhere else to go. And you telling me I gotta respect her? Where's her respect? She ain't respecting me, but you want me to respect her? He was trying to hurry up and get there. He did it the wrong way. He did it the wrong way. He started slanging crack. He started getting jewelry and all of that kind of stuff. And then his father. His father had found out, and even though he shouldn't have been out there hustling, I get why he did it. I mean, sometimes people just do the wrong thing. And sometimes you just have to, you just have to understand sometimes. Like, okay, he was in a bad predicament. He was in a bad situation. I don't think there was nowhere else for him to go. And sometimes when you get paroled, they only let you go to certain homes. And they got to be stable homes. And you got to, so you can't just move in with anybody. But he was when he found out that he was selling drugs, he was telling him, he might have not been doing him right by, his wife or whatnot, but his pops was telling him right when he was telling him, you shouldn't be out there slanging them drugs. You shouldn't be. He said, I understand you want your life back. I understand they stole your life. But the life those people stole from you, you can't buy back. Not with money, not with hustling, because it's gone. It's done. You don't have to be what they said you were, which was a thug, a criminal, a lowlife, an animal. Do y'all remember what the media said about them during the trial? The media described them as kids who came downtown from a world of crack, welfare, guns, knives, indifference, and ignorance. They were coming from a land of no fathers. They came from the wild province of the poor, and driven by the collective fury brimming with the rippling energies of youth, their minds teeming with the violent images of the street and the movies. They had only one goal: smash, hurt, rob, stop, rape. The enemies were rich, and their enemies were white. That is what the media described those 5 boys as being. So, his pop was trying to tell him, don't be what they say you are. And then he was like, when he was breaking down and crying, he was like, all we were doing was just hanging out. We were just out. It was a nice night. It was the beginning of spring break. We was just hanging out. We was just having fun. That's all we were doing. He said that's all we were doing. And he said they talk about boys just being boys. But when do we begin to be boys? When was we boys? When did they treat us like boys? And then he said, I can't be something I'm not. I ain't a citizen. They don't want me to be. I don't even want to be. I'm somewhere that I don't even know. It's like I'm half in and I'm half out. Like he sometimes when you go to prison and you kind of have that prison mentality, but it's like you out of prison and you want to do right, and you want to get your life back, and you want to find a job, and you don't want to be with all those people, said you are. But then it's like you out here, you have nobody, you can't get a job, and some people be like, I'd rather be locked up. So they be like on the fence. Like, should I try to live the straight and narrow? I mean, at least in jail they know they got, what do they call it? 3 cots in a hot? 3 cots in a hot, you know what I'm saying? 3 hots in a cot. That's it, 3 hots in a cot. Oh, God, I messed it all up. You said what had me going, the Donald Trump. I didn't know that, but not surprised. He wanted their heads to this day. He never apologized. And did you see in the news, like recently, since this show came out, people have been bashing him because, like I said in my last live on part 2, people were saying back then he was a racist. People are saying he's a racist ever since then up to now. They say he's a racist. So for me to hear what he said, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And in this case, Raymond, he did end up in jail. I don't know if his stepmom really called the cops, because that could have happened. Or, when you out of jail, especially if you're convicted over something like drugs or rape or something like that, I think people be really watching them, like checking up on them when they, just watching them, stalking them and stuff, like the cops, making sure they doing what they supposed to do, or trying to catch them slipping. So I don't know if she called the cops on them, because she did threaten to call the cops, but I don't know. I don't know if she called the cops or not. But Trump, man, when he said what he said about them boys, when they showed what he said, and see, that man took out 4 ads in 4 different newspapers. Our now President Trump, he took out an ad in 4 different newspapers, and each ad said, by the way, he spent $85,000 on those ads. He said, I want to hate those muggers and murderers. He said they should be forced to suffer, and when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes. They should be murdered. They must serve as examples so that others will think long and hard before committing a crime or an act of violence. Unshackle the police from the constant chain of police brutality, and bring back the death penalty, and bring back our police. That is what Trump said in those 4 ads that he took out in 4 different newspapers back then. Way before he became president of the United States. And you know what? I never heard about that back then, but I can believe it. I mean, there's proof of it. I mean, he took the ass out in the paper. It's proof of it. He was on TV. They showed, him on TV saying it on TV. So, we have no choice to believe what he said. And of course, some Trump fans, they'll be like, well, just like Trump said, well, the police said they did it. I said that because the police said they did it. That's what Trump was saying, recently when being questioned about what he said about the ads he took out back then. Well, the police said they did it. The police said they were guilty. So that's why he said what he said, that they should be murdered. Now, just picture this very rich and wealthy man, real estate investor, own all these Trump towers and casinos and all that kind of stuff. Rich, wealthy man saying in newspapers, on national TV, to murder these 5 men. Just the influence that he could have had, on the trial. We don't know if he influenced it or at all. But it was just crazy. It was just crazy what he was. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Are you kidding? I couldn't believe it. But anyway, yeah. I thought that was pretty, that point with the wife, I thought that was pretty sad. Antron, he ended up changing his name. His father had passed. Antron changed his name to Antron Davis. He changed his name to Antron Davis, and what what? No, it wasn't Davis. It was it Smith? Jones. Jones. That's what he changed his name, and who? How could you blame him? I would have moved too. As soon as his parole was up, as soon as he was done with parole, is done with his PO and all that off papers, like totally off papers, he was like deuces to New York, and he moved to Baltimore, Maryland. He got married, he started his life over, he had a family and all that. But that scene when he came home and his dad was in that trying to walk in his walker, and he was like stumbling, and he was falling and stuff. I guess his mom, Antoine's mom wasn't home, and I guess his pops was supposed to be in the bed, but he had got up and tried to walk, and Antoine ran in there and helped him up and helped him into the bed. And when he was putting him in the bed and putting the covers over him, this was another very emotional scene. He was putting the covers over him, his father, and he started having flashbacks. Flashbacks of how, back then when he used to play baseball, his dad used to cheer for him. Back when they used to play around and joke around and kid around and had great father-dad times, with him and his mom, and he was just having these flashbacks of when they were a family, a real family. And he started crying. He started crying. His dad started crying. I'm sure his dad probably was crying because not only did he realize, he knew all along that he messed up. He messed up. And he came home way much too late. And to come home because you sick and you dying and you need somebody to take care of you. And then your son is out of prison and you have no time to make it up. You have no time to make it up. I'm sure, I'm probably almost sure if he wasn't dying and just came back, maybe with him living a longer life and trying his hardest to correct his wrongs or try to help his son heal, maybe he would have been forgiving him. But Antoine still to this day has not forgiven his father. His father died a few months later, and he moved, changed his name, and all that. So, but again, maybe one day he'll forgive him. You said Trump was on a serious mission for those men to get the death. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And like you said, to this day, he never apologized. And he ain't gonna apologize. Please, all the people he done wrong, all the stuff he done wrong in the office, where he at now, in the White House, he ain't gonna apologize for nothing. That man is constantly lying about something. Constantly lying about something, throwing people under the bus, firing people because they know stuff that he's doing wrong. He ain't gonna never change. He ain't gonna never change. But yeah, this particular part 3 so far was, I think, probably the most emotional one for me. Like, really, it really was. And you said, Brown, you said I think it was. Excuse me. But and then what else did I want to talk about? I'm watching this motorcycle ride past my house. It's all loud. I don't know if y'all can hear it. But he was riding by real slow. I thought he was about to stop in front of my house or something. But another scene that I really liked. Do y'all remember the scene when Kevin Richardson and Yusef Salaam, when they both stood up for themselves in that meeting? They were taking like classes or something, how to get paroled or how to get off parole or something like that. And they was in that class, and when they saw each other, like, Yusef was already in the class. And when he saw Kevin, come through, he was like so happy to see him. They haven't seen each other in a very, very, very long time. And so they were embracing each other, hugging each other, joking around, all that kind of stuff. And then when the lady started talking, the lady over the meeting, she started talking. And she was like, Yusuf and Kevin. And she basically introduced them as two of New York's most notorious sex offenders, the Wilding Boys of Central Park. That's how she introduced them to everybody else that was in there. Now, I don't know what everybody else was in there for, what their crimes were, or, because they were all out on parole, all had been in trouble with the law. But she was like two of New York's most notorious sex offenders. And she was telling them basically, that in order for them to be paroled, one of the conditions was they have to admit to their crimes. They basically have to acknowledge having committed the sex offense. And they both was like, we ain't admitting to nothing. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything then, and we're not going to say we did anything now. And then Yusuf stood up and said, it's like this. Why would we turn down the plea deal back then? And then stand in front of you and say we did it. What sense does that make? We didn't do it back then, and we're not going to say it now. And the lady was like, Yusuf, this would be like the 5th class you done got put out of, right? And he was like, hey, I'm not admitting to it. Do what you want. Do what you got to do. And so he stood up. Kevin stood up. She was like, Kevin said, I only want to talk about this case. I ain't do nothing. So they both walked out and started, laughing and, chopping it up outside and started talking about, the other people, their other friends, asking, have you seen such and such? Have you seen such and such? How is such and such? They brought up Antron and, talked about how his father passed and how he moved to Baltimore and stuff like that. But I liked how they stood up for themselves. That part I really did like. I was like, okay. They knew that they had to say that. Well, that lady was trying to make them say that they were guilty. Like, they've been pleading innocent for years. Since they were children. But now that they are grown, they want them to say they did it and confess. They were like, bump that. Put us out the class. Hey, Diaries, how you doing? Thanks for coming in to support. Just being, Donna, you said not focused. It had me emotional too. We know there's so much more. Yeah, but couldn't put on film. It's so much more. Not focused, and I cried so many times while watching this. I did too. Donna, the class was for, unless I already answered it, because I'm just now seeing your question. But it was like a parole class. And it was just, I think it was a class for parolees who were trying to get parole because, or trying to get off parole or something like that, she said. But they said, the stipulations was that they had to admit and acknowledge what they did. And they was like, But yeah, I cried so many times. I was like, oh my God. And I hate when I cry because I'm like, I get emotional. Like, people could tell me something and I might or might not get emotional depending on it. But when I see people being emotional, that gets me every time. I cannot sit there and watch somebody cry and not get emotional. Unless they faking. Unless they're faking. But But yeah, so I thought that was a really good scene. But yeah, he ended up Yusuf, he ended up working in computers. You saw how when he first got home and he was at his mother's house and they were having a celebration for him. And that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about. Okay. Remember the scene when the moms, they was like, I guess they were like giving out flyers or something because they were having like a rally because some of the guys had gotten out, but some of the guys still was inside. And so the moms of the guys who were still inside, they were out there, handing out flyers, trying to get people to come to this rally. And remember, Corey's mom, she was talking to Yusef's mom, and she was asking her, can you please get a message to Yusef for my son Corey? And Yusef's mom was like, I can't do that. I can't do that because you know how it is. And Yusef's mom, that was Sharon. Corey's mom was Dolores, and Kevin's mom was Grace. So those were the three who were still in jail at that time. And so she was like, you know how jails is? That's illegal. I can't have my son writing a letter to another inmate because that's against the rules. You can't do that. And you can't write a letter and put it in the mail to go to another prison or to another person in the same jail. You just can't do that. And so Corey's mom was like, but he really misses Yusef. Corey hasn't seen nobody in a long time. He had been sent to Rikers when he was 16. That's where he was staying at, during the trial. And then after that, they shipped him or moved him to somewhere else. So, she was like, but my son, he really, really, really misses your son. And Sharon was still up there like, you know how she was acting before when she had on the shirt saying Yusef is innocent when they were having meetings with the attorneys and everything, during the trial, and everybody else was like, why are you acting like your son is the only one innocent? And she was like, because my son, he's different from all of y'all because y'all children was down there and they got statements on them and coerced them to say all these things and whoop 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 whoop. And she got there in enough time to remove her son from the situation and take him home and get him a representative. So she was kept saying they situations are different. She was still acting like her son was better than the rest of those sons. And I felt really bad for Corey's mom. And even though it is wrong to do that, like it's wrong. Like, okay, you know how, I don't know if y'all ever know, this to happen, but how an inmate could be in jail and they want to talk to another inmate in jail. So an inmate would call somebody they know, and that person would call somebody they know, and then they would call somebody they know, and then the other inmate would call somebody they know, and these two people they call and know each other, so they would relay messages. The inmate over here on the phone call, the inmate over here on the phone call, those two people are on the phone together, like on a three-way. You know what I mean? So, and then just like that's wrong, they ain't supposed to do that. You can't mail a letter, even if you mail the letter outside of the jail, send it home to your mom, girlfriend, whatever, and have her send that letter to jail directed to the other person. That's illegal. That's what she wanted Yusef's mom to do. And that's completely wrong. And I feel why she was like, I'm not telling my son to do this. We trying to get him out on parole. I don't want to mess up his parole. He got a year left. I understand that. But her attitude was like, all uppity and snooty and bougie. Like, I mean, I was just like, wow, that was messed up. The flyer scene was messed up. And then you saw how in jail when Yusef's mom Sharon came to visit him, he was talking about Corey. He was like, I wonder where Corey is. I wonder where they sent him. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I'm kind of worried about him. And then his mom was like, oh, you don't need to worry about this. Worry about yourself. Just worry about yourself. She knew where Corey was. And she wouldn't even tell her son. They was best friends. And y'all remember the whole reason Corey got into this whole debacle was because he had went downtown with Yusef. When Yusef got arrested, the cops was like, Corey, if you want, you can come down with him, show him some support, be with your buddy, be with your friend, while he's down here being questioned. If you want, you can tag along if you want. And Corey, who isn't all the way mentally there at that age of 16, I probably would say he probably was at a 5th grade level. I'm so serious. The boy couldn't read at all. He was probably at a 5th, 6th grade level, maybe. So he was like, yeah, he said, because your mom, Sharon, would be mad if I let you go down there by yourself. So he went, not even thinking about himself or his own freedom or his own protection. He went. And so Yusuf sat down there in front of his mom and told her the whole reason why Corey is in prison right now and got the most time because he was charged as an adult was because he went down to the jail with Yusuf to support him. His mother didn't even blink. She barely acknowledged the fact. She was just like, oh well. Oh well. I was like, dang, that's messed up. And then when he got home, you saw how at the party, when they had a party, all the family was there. He came in, he sat down, he was just sitting there staring. Like, he didn't know what to do with himself. And I really think at that time he was still thinking about Corey. He was still like, I'm home. But what about Corey? You know, he had no idea where Corey was. Didn't know if he was dead. Didn't know if he was alive. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, Corey was being threatened in school, and that's why he skipped school. And the judge, remember on the court when he was on trial, when he was on the stand, that prosecutor Elizabeth kept saying, why weren't you in school all April, huh? Why was it because you out there wilding out? Because you out there doing this, and that? He said, I was being, mistreated at school. People was threatening me. Because his mental level probably wasn't level with the rest of the kids, and he couldn't read. And instead of somebody maybe holding him back when they should have held him back, and I don't know what's up with his mother. I don't want to talk down on his mother. I don't know why she or how he got to that age and couldn't read. I would have been so embarrassed for myself and my son if I was in court and to see my son up there crying and screaming saying I can't read. I would have been embarrassed. And felt bad as a parent. So, but I don't know. Yeah, that's why he skipped school all April. But yeah, so that was another emotional scene for me, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Now I'm ready for part 4. I'll probably watch that. I'll probably watch that tomorrow while I'm working. I'll probably watch that while I'm working. Because tonight I'm just going to relax. I've been going hard on these videos lately, so I'm just going to relax and find something out. Time to watch. You said Corey had it bad in school, then jail. So sad. He went through. It was sad. It was really, really sad. Out of all the people who went to prison, even though some of them was 14, some of them was 15, I felt the most bad for Corey. Because they might have been 14 and 15, but his mind level wasn't even at 14. So I felt really bad for him. And I felt really bad because nobody spoke up for him. He could have easily have been given a test, and they put, I don't know what they call it, where they test people to see if they able to stand trial or they able to. I mean, he could have been maybe prosecuted or tried as a juvenile with the rest of the kids because of his mind, So I felt the most bad for him. So that's, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, Kayla. I'm like, should I start it tonight? Should I start it tomorrow? I'm like, no. So I'll just do that. But I've been so busy the last few days with the videos and with the reviews and running my kids around playing Uber Mom. Like, one of my son's car broke down. It's outside in the front right now. We gonna call some company some junkyard to come tow it because it's just dead engine, everything. We already had put a new transmission in it, a couple of years ago. Ignition switches, alignment, struts. We didn't put so much money in that car. I bought that for him when he graduated from high school. Before he went to college. I got that car for him. Well, no, it was after. Yeah, after his first year of college. Yeah, I got that for him. And the car is just, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. So I took him yesterday to look at a car where I bought my car, and he put down a deposit, and they gotta fix some things on it. It needs an alignment. I think they need to fix the brakes, and I think that was it. I think that was it. Really, really nice car. Really nice car. It's like a 2013. He was like, "Oh, mama, this the one. This the one." I was like, "Okay, son. Okay." So we put a deposit down on it. They said they're going to fix what they need to fix. And then next week, we can go and pick the car up. But, yeah, so I'm glad, because I'm like, I'll be getting up at, y'all, when I say I'll be tired, like, I'm literally running on fumes sometimes. I have to get up at 5, take my son to work, then I have to be at work for myself at 7, then I have to pick him up from work, then I have to take my other son to work, because it's summertime. He got him a little job before he goes off to college, so I gotta take him to work, pick him up from work, and I'm like, I'm just, whoo, Jesus. I'll be like, woo-sa. Woo-sa. So when my oldest son gets his car next week, it's going to be a stress reliever, because that's another reason why I bought him the last car, was so that he could help out with taking his little brother places, because I work several jobs, and I'm a cake decorator. So, I got a lot going on. But anywho, I'm so glad you guys tuned in to this review tonight. Oh yeah, Miss New Orleans, I hate driving. I think, let's see. Both of my sons played sports all through high school. All year. Not just during the school year. During the summertime, they was on basketball elite teams. Traveling all over the place. Different cities. St. Louis, Kansas. They was all over the place. In the Midwest. And so they played sports all the time. By the time my oldest one was a senior, and by the time the other one went into high school, I was burnt out on driving. I hated driving. I don't care if I had a $200,000 whip. I don't want to drive. My sons, they know how to drive. They both got driver's license. So every time we go somewhere, I'll be trying to sit in the passenger seat, because I hate driving. I hate it. I go where I need to go. I go to work. I come home. Go to the grocery store. I hate driving. Like, I really do. I really do. And I be telling my kids, y'all lucky. Because back in the day, when we had a job, please, our parents didn't take us to work. We either walked or we caught the bus. And they had a car. They had a car, and they was like, please, when we was younger, we walked 25 miles to work barefoot in 200-degree weather or snow up to our waist. You know how parents make up them old stories. They be lying they butt off. Talking about we had to walk to school and we didn't have no shoes and no coats, and they might have been doing bad, but they ain't walk barefoot through no desert to get to school. You know what I mean? But sometimes I do tell my kids the same thing. I'll be like, I had to walk like 10, 15, 20 blocks to the bus stop every morning in the cold, shivering with a little jacket on, and they be like, Mom, the bus stop was right down the street from your house. We know where you used to live. And the same bus goes the same way for that same school. I'm like, okay. All right. Anyway. But, so, again, thank you guys for tuning in and watching these reviews. Some of y'all who probably seen them, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and heard my reviews, and maybe even watched other people's reviews. I don't know if you feel the way I feel about making sure your young teenage sons or your young adult sons, even your daughters, allow them to watch it. Tell them to watch it. Sit down with them while they watch it, because the same thing that went on back in the day, it still happens today. Innocent young people are being murdered all the time, going to jail, being coerced into making up false statements, being thrown in the slammer for years, and then 5, 10, 15, 20 years, thanks to like a DNA evidence that popped up from somewhere or something, they might get released. Or they might get paroled or whatever. But it's still happening today. It might not be as much happening as it was back then, because back then everybody went to jail. everybody. The police was just rolling through the neighborhoods back then, just everywhere. Even here in our city, we had a bad gang epidemic around that time. Bad gang epidemic around that time in Omaha, Nebraska. From all the gangs coming from the West Coast and coming from the East Coast, landing right here in the Midwest, where there was a fresh area to sell all they crack and all the other kind of stuff. So it was pretty bad back then. I remember all that. But I think this will be a good show for young teenagers, and young adults to watch. Just to know, like, what really can happen if they were arrested, and to know what to do if they were arrested, what to say. Ask for a lawyer. Demand that your parent come down there. Not sign anything. Don't sign your Miranda rights away. Don't waive your attorney privileges away. A lot of kids do not know that. And even no matter how much we teach our kids, and they might see the Trayvon Martins on TV and all that kind of stuff, they still, when they never interacted with a cop, they get with a cop, they might, all that stuff might go out their mind, like, oh my God, they ask me all these questions, they slamming me, they slapping me, they hitting me, they threaten me, so I think this is a good show for them to watch. So, episode number 4, I'm going to watch tomorrow morning and review it tomorrow night. You guys, a lot of people have been supporting my channel. I really, really appreciate it. Y'all know I'm really close to being monetized. My year would be June 6th. I'm not quite at my watch hours. Last I checked, and YouTube is always 2 days behind, but last I checked, I had 700 hours left. So that is dropped tremendously, over the last week, because I've been having people supporting me by running my playlist. This one lady in the chat, Miss Natalie Norlands, mwah, mwah, mwah. Me and her has been running each other's chats. I ran your channel today while I was at church under the hood table, under my other channel, Miss Natalie Norlands. I also been running other people's channel, like Donna, Miss oh God, I can't, the name right off the top of my head, I can't think of her name right now. Miss Sislo, Mama Sislo. I've been running her channel. Miss Natalie Norland, she's running my channel on one of her channels. She's running my channel on her husband's computer, on her computer. I got friends and family doing the same thing, running my playlist, trying to get me there so I can get monetized. It's really, really close, y'all. Really, really close. I know we can do this. I know we can do this. I cannot wait so we can celebrate once I get monetized. If I don't get monetized by, that review after my year, then normally they wait like 3-4 more weeks and they review you again to see if you made it by then. Because remember, you have to have 4,000 watch hours within a 12-month rolling period. Not a year. Not in 1 year from the day you started. It doesn't go by the day you started to a year later. It's a 12-month rolling period. So if I don't get it this go around next week, then they'll do it again like in a month. So thank you, you guys. I'm trying to get it this first time, though. When they review this first time, as soon as I see them 4,000 hours up there, I'm gonna be like, requesting to be reviewed. YouTube, let me in. But thank you, Donna. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the live review. Thank you. I appreciate that. Everyone have a blessed night. It's been a long day for me. I was in church, came home, cooked dinner, and immediately jumped on this live. So everybody, please have a safe night. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I hope you enjoyed the review. And everybody who isn't caught up with this show, go to Netflix. Look up When They See Us and watch 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tomorrow night, we're going to review 4. Okay? And then somebody hit me up, because if you guys ever want me to talk about a certain thing or something that's going on in the world, or a TV show or trending news, you can hit me. You can DM me, Tanya's Primetime TV on IG. You can DM me. Somebody had, matter of fact, let me go to it right now, because they want me to talk about something. Here it is. They sent me a message on Facebook. They said, "Could you please do a show about people giving advice for single parents on how to keep their kids on the right path to success?" They sent me this earlier today, and I said, "Absolutely." Absolutely. I will do that. And I was like, I will do that. And I'm thinking maybe Wednesday might be a good day for that. So, I told them, and they said yes. They want to call in and they want to discuss it and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you guys ever want me to discuss anything on on my platform, just send it to me. Just DM me. And again, I'm on IG, Tanya's Primetime TV on IG, and I'm also on Twitter, Tanya's Primetime TV Media Reviews, and Facebook, Tanya's Primetime TV Media Reviews. So you can hit me on all those different social medias. So I'm about to be out of here, you guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Make sure you like. If you did not already like this, make sure you like it. Make sure you share it on Facebook, Twitter, IG. And if you have over 1,000 subscribers and have a community channel, you can share it on your community channel as well. I really do appreciate it. Let's get to that 4K, y'all. And in the meantime and in between time, stay safe, be blessed, and I'm out. Deuces.